Don't try to tell me, well, that's how they got there, man. Going for it on 4th down. Yeah, well, that's a part of how they got there. Okay? That's a part. It's not the only way that they, quote, they, the Detroit Lions, got there. They got there because they developed a tough mentality. They got there because they got good wide receivers, at least except for that Reynolds kid. We'll dive into that in a minute. They got there because of the rejuvenation of Jared Goff, the former #1 pick who came out to Detroit and has been as good as any quarterback, I swear to you, in the NFL. They got there, sure, because of their we're going to go for it mentality. They got there because, sure, we want to play harder and better than you, and we're more gutsy than you. We take more chances than you. We fake field goals more than you. We fake punts more than you. We go for it on 4th down more than you, but that wasn't yesterday. That wasn't yesterday. And that wasn't a game week 6 against Carolina somewhere in Carolina. No, this was the once-in-a-lifetime, maybe, NFC championship game where you have control of the game, except you didn't. If you really watched and you really paid attention, the defense of San Francisco was stepping up a little bit. So you're up 14. Let me go through this. Everything else mattered after this, but not really. And I say this not as a fan. I say this not as a broadcaster. I say this as a guy who has been in this situation hundreds of times, both for me and against me. You have a chance with a 17-point lead going into halftime. Just follow me here, okay? The 49ers have the ball, and you heard this after the game from Shanahan. Shanahan said this: we got the ball first, we got a field goal, which was bad. He put that in there. Now people aren't seeing that. He said, which was bad. Why is that bad? Well, it's bad because, frankly, you wanted a touchdown, down 17. Field goal, it's still 2 touchdowns. You're happy you got a bucket. I call it a bucket. You're happy that you scored. It beats the living you-know-what out of not scoring. But okay, so now, just follow me here. This is how you think as a coach. You drive down the field. You're the Lions. Clock's running. There's 2 15-minute quarters. Clock's running. There's 30 minutes. You get the ball. It's 4th down. It's a 14-point lead. You kick the field goal there. Here's what you've done. You've cut the second half by a quarter. 1 quarter, 7.5 minutes out of there. And assuming you make it, which is about a 95% chance, assuming you make it, you're at the same number that you were to start the second half, only you've cut it in half. You've cut it by a quarter. That's huge. That is, you want analytics? There's your freaking analytics. Now, you can go ahead and say the Reynolds kid dropped the football. He did. Should he have made the catch? He should have. But did he? No. And here's the difference. All right, for people that are saying, well, he should have made the catch. Fine. He should have made the catch. And if he makes the catch, who knows what happens? Maybe you end up kicking a field goal. Maybe you get a touchdown. I don't know. But here's the deal. Here's the risk part. And this is what you know as a coach, or you should know as a coach, or what I was taught by Coach Knight when I'm coaching. The other side of it. Understand the other side of it. What happens if you don't get it? What happens with momentum? I'm screaming at the TV. Screaming. And Lee understands because Lee was a coach. No, not now. Why? You kick the field goal. There's no momentum. There's zero momentum. None. Zip. Zero. Zilch. None. Nada. Zippo. None. You kick off. You line up. You kick the ball in the end zone. Here comes Brock Purdy to the 25-yard line. Now we're starting over. Now we're up 3 scores. They haven't had a touchdown in a long time. It's not like this is a back and forth. They're scoring a touchdown. They're scoring a touchdown. We already said they came out. They, being the 49ers, came out and got a field goal, which Shanahan told you was bad. So there's your ball game. The only chance, not the only chance, but one of the only ways that game could have gone the other way based on how it was played. Now, you got to understand, every game's organic based on how this particular game was being played. The Lions were pretty much having their way with the 49ers. The 49ers and their crowd were flat because the Lions were kicking their ass. Only chance you had, victory favors the team making the fewest mistakes, was if that guy made a mistake, and he made a huge one. He made a career-changing mistake. And it was a simple move. Kick the field goal, no momentum. All right, let's hear from Dan Campbell after the game.
And sometimes you can only say so much. You got to live it, unfortunately. And you got to get your heart ripped out, which we did. And it's a lesson learned. And look, I told those guys, this may have been our only shot. Do I think that? No. Do I believe that? No. However, I know how hard it is to get here. I'm well aware. And it's going to be twice as hard to get back to this point next year than it was this year.
He's right and he's wrong. He's absolutely right. They got their heart ripped out. Absolutely right. Will it be harder next year? I don't know. I think that the Lions pretty much are a team that everybody wanted to beat this year. I think the Lions from the start of the year, the notoriety, how good they are, I think that they absolutely are that kind of team. Now, they got to get better. But you can say all that, and if I were a player in the locker room, I'd be like, yeah, dude, kick the frickin' field goal. And look, a lot of things had to happen. I totally get it. All right, I totally get it. And one of the things that happened was Brock Purdy was damn good. You know, all these racist guys on ESPN, the Ryan Clarks, the RG3s, you know, if you see an African-American analyst on ESPN, they're always downplaying Brock Purdy. Why? Simply because he's white. And I get it. I do. I 100% get it. You know, and that's the change everybody wanted. So there you go. You got your change. You can talk bad about white guy. Ryan Clark said to the point of, the hardest thing that I had to do was act like Brock Purdy was a really good quarterback. Well, it's because Ryan Clark's an idiot. And I watching him this morning, he speaks for 10 minutes and literally says nothing. It's like watching softball on ESPN. You watch softball on ESPN, the women announcers don't know crap about the game. They just talk about feelings. And that's all Ryan Clark did. He sounded like a preacher. And by the way, Michael Strahan's up there. Why was he screaming at us yesterday? It was unbelievable. He's, shut up. But anyway, so Purdy shuts all these idiots. Second half, 13-16, 174 yards, 49 yards rushing. I don't know what to tell you. Now, I get it. He's a white dude, and the black analysts don't like him, and that's fine because he's nowhere near Lamar. But you know what? The dude's a stud. I thought he was awful last week. But you know what? Aren't you allowed to be awful one time? And I agree with what anybody wants to say. Look, Lamar Jackson, you're great, but I don't know, man. I get it. You can throw it against Cincinnati week 7, but you weren't throwing it good, and Todd Monken, the offensive coordinator, kept dropping him back. Look, there used to be a thing called the single wing. You hiked it to your best player, and your best player either ran it or throw it. That's it. There's a school in Indiana called Valparaiso High School back in the day. They had a kid named Butterfield. He ended up being the mayor. You hiked it to him. He went right. He ran left. He started running. He threw it. He made every play. That's what Lamar Jackson should be. Not dropping back to pass. What are you, nuts? Particularly with guys like Zay Flowers. And speaking of Zay Flowers, did you know this? So Zay Flowers reached to get into the end zone, which you think is a good move for the Ravens, right? Did you know this? Bill Belichick, I saw this on Twitter. I think it was Wes Welker, or maybe it was, not sure. One of the not old, they're not that old, but one of the former Patriots guys said, Bill Belichick, unless it's fourth down, you never extend for the goal line with the ball. I didn't know that. Unless it's fourth down. And that makes sense, because you extend, what happens? Guys are coming and they're going to hit the ball. So the kid Zay Flowers, he fumbles it, but before he fumbled it, he did what the Ravens did the entire game. He was an undisciplined mess. Makes a great play, then has to taunt, has to act like an idiot, has to act like a 12-year-old. Penalty, move it back. Now he's going in the end zone, knocked out. Now he goes to the bench, cuts his hand. I mean, we have children playing a men's game. This is a man's game. But anyway, long story short, what a day of football. I miss football already. I got one game left. I don't like it. I love me some football. All right, but back to the Ravens real quick. The Ravens lost because they were undisciplined. The Ravens lost because their quarterback kind of crapped the bed. But I'll give you something else. The Ravens lost because you just played against the best quarterback in the history of the league. Look, I don't know what you want to say. I understand. Back in my day, there was no greater quarterback. I mean, nobody was better. Nobody was better than Joe Montana. Nobody. I mean, nobody. Dan Marino, right in the mix, best thrower to football. But Joe Montana, he's the best. He's the standard. Nobody will ever match him. And then you know what happened? Along came Tom Brady. Nobody's ever matching Tom Brady. Then you know what happened? Patrick Mahomes came. My God. And what did we tell you? And I already did it. I looked. I got today, when I woke up, I saw the line. Mahomes was getting a point. I took Mahomes in the Super Bowl because you just don't bet against Urban Meyer, Nick Saban, Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs when they are getting points. But let me ask you this. Let me ask you, did you ever feel like watching the game with the Chiefs that the Chiefs weren't in total control? Did you ever? I didn't. I felt like Mahomes had this thing in his hip pocket damn near the entire time. And let me give a shout out to a personal friend, number 73, Nick Allegretti, who substituted in for a guy named Joe Toohey. Joe Toohey got hurt. Nicky is in. Nick's dad was on our show last year. Carl's a friend of mine. We grew up together. Carl was the biggest kid in the neighborhood, hit the longest home run in the history of Junedale Little League off of me. I was 10. He was 12. It was a championship game. My coach put me out there to pitch the championship game as a 10-year-old pitching against 12-year-olds, and Carl Allegretti hit it not over the fence, not over the score, but I can still see it because the entire city was there. Hell, Lori Basic was there. The Yoakum sisters was there. That's all I cared about. I was 10 years old. I was Squints from frickin' Sandlot, for crying out loud. I was always sniffing around the girls as a 102-pound guy. But I got the start on the hill, and Carl Allegretti's dad hit it over the fence, over the scoreboard, and over the flagpoles. Carl Allegretti went and played football at Butler. His son, Nicky, left guard, filling in. Unbelievable job. We'll get Carl on the show. He was on last year after Nick and them won the Super Bowl. But congratulations. I got a great picture of Nick Allegretti sitting there that I may send to the fellas here that Carl sent me of Nick just gassed. Gassed. Anyway, what a great day yesterday was. That was fun. Brock Purdy. 21 of 31, 267, a touchdown, an interception, 49 yards rushing, first playoff win in 2 years, and he can't play because the African-American dudes hate that a white dude, African-American dudes on TV hate that a white dude can go get it done. Hey, look, Ryan Clark, it's okay, bruh. It's okay, bruh. You can say that it's all right. You can say Brock Purdy's good. You don't have to lie. But you know what? The world keeps us spinning. Why am I wearing my Indiana shirt? I may wear my Indiana shirt until Indiana wins another game, for crying out loud. Can't beat Illinois. Micah Parsons back in the news. I've told you this about Micah Parsons, didn't I? I think I did. I'm looking over there. There's nothing there. But anyway, I told you this about Micah Parsons. Look at this. Micah Parsons is the most selfish player on the Cowboys, says Jesse Holley, former Cowboy. I love NFL news. I love NFL angst. And by the way, anybody that doesn't think that whole Taylor Swift and Jason Kelce thing isn't real or Travis Kelce thing isn't real, you're nuts. That's as real as it gets. That's as real as my bald head. Anyway, I digress. Micah Parsons, to me, is probably the most selfish player on this football team. One of the reasons that Micah Parsons does not want to play linebacker is it's too much of a responsibility. Maybe it's just a youth in him. Micah doesn't want to study. Micah doesn't want to focus, and I truly believe Micah wants to be great for Micah. Well, okay. You know, we know this. Think about it. Draymond Green does podcasts that people pay attention to. So does Micah Parsons. Now, did Michael Jordan? Does LeBron? I don't know. Like, Draymond Green would not be in the Michael Jordan, LeBron category. Okay, we get that. We get that. But Micah Parsons could be. Do any of the greats in any sports do a podcast that is hosted by them so they can get more attention? I don't think so. Look, you're me, you do a radio show, you do a streaming show, you do you do podcasts, you do anything. I mean, what the hell? It's the business that I'm in. But if I was in the business or when I was in the business of being a basketball coach, I did only the shows that I was contractually obligated to do. The coach's show. Sunday morning, the coach's Monday night call-in show. Fine, no problem. Loved doing it. Enjoyed it. Even when we lost, it was like therapy for me. But I wasn't going to go set aside time to go ahead and be a media star in the middle of my career, you know what you want? You want wins. You want legacy. You know what you want, truthfully? You want what Patrick Mahomes has. Like, Patrick Mahomes just goes through life. Patrick Mahomes just does the things that he's supposed to do, which is what? I mean, look, I bet you this. I bet you nobody studies harder than Patrick Mahomes. I don't see Patrick Mahomes doing doing a podcast of his own for attention. I mean, I don't know. You tell me. So do you want to be great or don't you? This drives me nuts. Patrick Mahomes wants to be great and wants to go down as the greatest ever, and he is on his way. Micah Parsons, Draymond Green. Draymond Green's got himself a place, probably be a Hall of Famer, but Draymond Green got himself a place as a media star and a dimwit. He went out and hit Anthony Davis this weekend and then acted like an idiot doing all this. Can't stop himself. But when you watch the game yesterday, compare what Kelsey, who does have a podcast, compare what Kelsey and Mahomes did with what we're talking about here with Micah Parsons and others. Kelsey, you could tell, man, he was coming out to kick somebody in the ass. 11 catches, are you kidding me? Broke Jerry Rice's record. Are you out of your mind? And it is incredible. Patrick Mahomes, I'll read it to you. For the 6th consecutive season with Mahomes as their starting quarterback, the Chiefs reached the AFC Championship game. The only streak longer is New England from 2011 to 2018. All I know is this: the Chiefs led the league in drop passes. Mahomes still threw it to him. Valdez, Scantling, whatever, has made 3 big-time catches. Because you know what? When it comes time, you got to concentrate and you got to play, Micah Parsons, not walk out here and be a dude that is trying to be a media star when you're right in the middle. Look, a guy like me playing, I guess I would need the attention. You're trying for legacy. You want to be talked about like Reggie White is talked about. You want to be talked about like Richard Dent. You want to be talked about like the greats of the sport. You know, I tell you who's a bad boy is Chris Jones. Whoo, Chris Jones, bad man. Chris Jones, bad mother. Shut your mouth. What are we talking about, Chris? Tell you who else is a bad man, Aiden Hutchinson. Like my mug? My wife got it for me. What do you think? Sack up. Should sell them on OutKick. I mean, what the hell are we doing? Anyway, let's go to the awful side of sports. By the way, Chris Mano, who played for the Chiefs, is going to join us, and so is our friend Chad Withrow. Let's go to the seedier side of sports. Now, there are certain things that just don't fit. And talking about this just doesn't fit. But that's okay. I don't care. Remember Leah Thomas, the swimmer? The dude that wants to swim against women, swam against women, and somehow became a champion against women. Remember him? Well, he is filing and fighting a secret legal battle because he wants to swim in the Olympics for the United States. I'm going to give something to Leah Thomas, the chick. She's got some nuts on her. She's got some satchel. She's got some balls, ladies and gentlemen. You know, some people wilt when they see their name in the paper negatively, or they see their name on Twitter negatively. Other people are like, yeah, I don't care. But this thing wants to go and swim in the Olympics. So she's battling for a 2024 roster spot. I say good. I say, look, let's go. You're going to compete for a 2024 roster spot with the dudes. Let's have at it. Let's go. Let's see how you do. I'll give you. Hey, look, the Olympic trials, you are in, lady man. You are in, dude girl. We want you there, but it's going to be against the men. Let's go, and let's put it on national TV. Let's just do that. Hey, what's fair is fair. I've said this before, and I'll say this again. Women transitioning to men should play against the men. Men transitioning to women should play against the men. Because right now, in both of those cases, they only compete against women. I'll say it forever. Let them compete against the men. Let's go. I'll give you an exemption, Leah Thomas. You're exempt. You get into the trials. You don't have to be any good. You don't even have to make the prerequisite times to qualify for the Olympic trials. You and your package, you and your set of D's nuts gets to go and let's put it on TV and let's see how you do. And then you know what happened? Nobody, not one single person, will pay attention to you anymore. People will be like, yeah, I'm good. That's okay. We're out. Hey, did you see this? Did you see this? 9 Brigham Young University fans showed up for a game against Texas wearing T-shirts that spelled out the phrase, horns down. I think that's it, right? Horns down, I think. But once the game started, they were asked to cover it up. Now, what is the problem with horns down? What is it? Are we saving America from another racist attack? Is BYU, probably so, overly sensitive because of the nonsense from the lying Duke volleyball player about racist slurs being hurled at her? You see in the front row, horns down. Is this that egregious? I mean, what are we talking about in the United States of America where you can't go to a college basketball game and people respectfully, nothing racist, nothing sexist, nothing misogynist, nothing but college kids wearing H. You wear the O, I'll wear the R. Dylan, you wear the N. Nick 1, you wear the S. Nick 2, D. Gary, O. Let's go. Beth, you wear W. Come on, Aaron. Get the N. You know, I mean, and that's bad. You guys got to explain this to me, please. Please explain this to me so that I can move on with my life. There are certain things that are ridiculous, all right? Here's a press conference. Let's hear from the coach, Mark Pope.
Thanks, guys. Hey, if I can, Ty's going to be mad at me here, but I don't know. Are you guys reporting on this horns down T-shirt? Are you guys hearing this?
Yeah, the T-shirt.
Yeah. And just to know from our student, they were taken off before the game started, right? And from the Rock and from our players and from our student body, that's just not us. That's not how we roll. And it was just a miscalculation on just a couple eager kids. Which we love the eagerness of these fans, but it's not what we do here. So we love all 18,000 people in this gym. They were incredible tonight, and just so you know, that's not something that we're supporting. Okay, awesome. Okay.
You know what I said? I mean, again, this is why maybe I'm sitting here, but I'd be like, I don't understand the problem, unless, of course, I needed the money and the AD was holding a gun to my head about my job. I'd be like, I don't know what the problem is, man. It's college. It's college basketball. It's college football. We can't do nothing to slow down the respectful, in a way, enthusiasm of college kids. I mean, are you insane? This will be my press conference. Look, I just want to address this horns down thing. Our society is out of its frickin' mind. Horns down is neither inappropriate, wrong, it's perfect. It's a perfect jab at an opponent coming into a rival school and competing in a sport. This isn't war. This isn't race relations. This isn't anything that is at any higher level than a basketball game between two teams in our building, and our students had fun with it. Is horns down racist? You tell me, writer boy. Is it sexist? Is it misogynist? Is it anything other than a slant on what another school does as their thing? So anybody that has a problem with it, you need to get a life. You need to stop being a jackass. You need to grow the hell up. To anybody that is offended by it, you know what? Go stand over there and be offended. I'm disgusted with our school for having any type of problem with it. They want me to get up here and they want me to say, well, it's not who we are. But of course it's who you are. It's every college student who you are. Every college student is looking for fun. Every college student is looking to jab somebody. Every college student wants to come up with something original. It's absolutely who people are. Why are we afraid to say it? Of course it's who we are. Think about when you were in college. What'd you do? You know what you did? You found stuff to do. I was just talking to my stepson the other day, Jared. He's like, yeah, you know what? We figured out how to put 4 crappy TVs together. We all had Call of Duty, and we played, and we figured 7 hours we were playing in college. 7 hours. And these dudes were smart kids. These dudes were really smart kids. That's what you do in college. And to have any kind of ridiculous, hey, look, I'm going to be upset by this, is as asinine as anything you'll ever hear. And it really has me kind of pissed off because, frankly, this is much ado about nothing, and BYU gave in to just simple what? What did they give into? What did they give into? They give into the mob. They give into mass hysteria. They gave into nothing. Jesus. I tell you what, I wish I could stay this age. I like life. I like living. I like how my life is. I have an unbelievably great life, and I thank God for it every day. But I don't want to be any younger. Now, I don't want to be any older either because, you know, at some point things aren't going to work that need to work to keep life interesting and happy. But the fact of the matter is, if I got to be younger and come up in a world that's worried about that, we're insane right now. Here's something that's important. You want something that's important? I'll give you something that's important. You want something that should be criticized? You want something that should be vilified? You want something that is of consequence? It's Vince McMahon. We talked about it the other day. Vince McMahon is the HMFIC. We all know this. He is the HMFIC of the WWE. Okay. All right. So Vince McMahon, and this seems like it's been going on forever. It seems like you can't swing a dead cat without Vince McMahon doing something stupid, whether it was roids to ass, I don't even know. So this guy, McMahon, founded the WWE in 1982. He just resigned from his position. He's 78 years old. Yeah, I was wondering, like, I looked this up before the show, and I'm like, how old is this guy? It feels like, 1982 was my heyday. It was my prime. It was when I, 1982, I was getting it done in college, and we bought, the first thing I ever bought on pay-per-view was Royal Rumble, or whatever they called it, 1. And I mean, we couldn't wait. Practice my ass. Let's go. But anyway, so McMahon, he's facing a lawsuit. It's a serious lawsuit by a lady named Janelle Grant, who worked for him. Janelle Grant worked in the WWE's legal and talent department. She alleged that McMahon forced her into a sexual relationship in order for her to obtain and keep her job, and passed around pornographic pictures and videos of her to other men, including other employees. This was filed in U.S. District Court in Connecticut, and that happens to be exactly where the WWE is located. It's also John Laurinaitis, the company's former head of talent relation and general manager. She alleges abuse, sexual exploitation, trafficking. Now, this is some important stuff. This is some stuff that, you know what? We got to figure out. You can't have. Now, think about the two things that I've just talked about. One is horns down T-shirts, and the other is this. Now, McMahon is saying that Ms. Grant's lawsuit is replete with lies, obscene, made-up instances that never occurred, and this is a vindictive distortion of the truth, and he intends to vigorously support himself, all right? McMahon, stepped down. Well, did you know he also stepped down in 2022 amid an investigation into allegations of the same type? It gets a little deeper. The lady, Janelle Grant, signed a non-disclosure agreement in 2022 in connection with an agreement from McMahon to pay her $3 million. The board started an investigation the same year. All right. So, listen to this. In this lawsuit, McMahon, listen to this, McMahon paid Grant $1 million, but stopped making payments. Oh, really? Thereafter, he stopped making payments. She seeks to void the NDA along with receiving unspecified financial damages. All right. It also implicated a former UFC heavyweight champ with whom WWE was actively trying to sign a new contract. So they had, a lot of people saying it's Brock Lesnar. I don't know. His name comes up in here. But the point is, they were passing this girl around, apparently, as incentive to join the WWE. Now, here's the deal. I would have a little problem. I want to know the facts. But if I were making a decision on this, I got to ask McMahon, okay, 2 questions. One, I got to ask both of them 2 questions. One, why'd you stop making payments? I mean, why'd you stop? Paid her $1 million. You're supposed to pay her $3 million. Why'd you stop? And 2, why is this lawsuit, Miss Grant, only because he stopped making payments? And I'm sure it is, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I got to know from McMahon, why would you stop making payments on something like this? Why would you do that? This is interesting. Now, this is some serious stuff. This is unbelievable. But it seems like this is every day. This is like a walk in the park. So, McMahon had a non-disclosure with this woman from a lawsuit. That got settled. $3 million was supposed to go to the woman. He paid her $1 million, stopped making payments. My guess is because of all that's going on with the WWE, UFC, going to Fox, leaving Fox, going to Netflix, going to all these different things. Here's the deal. McMahon got more than $2 million he could fork out. He could probably pull that out of a bank account somewhere that nobody knows he even has, throw her $2 million and be done with it. So what happened here? I want to know what the hell happened here. I don't really like these type of things. I don't like them. But I will say this. This one fascinates me. It does. It fascinates me because you're paying, you know, if somebody has the stones to pay a lawsuit or start a lawsuit against someone like McMahon, you know they got stones to get pissed when you don't pay off the money you're supposed to be paying. So you put yourself right in front of an oncoming truck and you got hit by a truck. That truck named Janelle hit you right in the head. Man. All right, I want to go back to football. Congratulations to Steve Spagnuolo. Steve Spagnuolo is a guy, they call him Spags, defensive coordinator of the Chiefs. Steve Spagnuolo, I've known Steve Spagnuolo since 1997. Steve Spagnuolo was an assistant football coach at Bowling Green when I became the head basketball coach at Bowling Green State University. One night at a party, this is my thing, and you will figure out why and how I get divorced, right? I'm at a party, I'm looking around, I'm kind of bored, I leave. I just leave. I leave my wife, she's having a good time, I leave my wife, I just leave. I go home, I felt guilty that I wasn't working and I was at a party at Tim Dunn's house. Next thing you know, knock on the door about 1 in the morning. Here comes my wife, Spags, and his girlfriend. I'm like, what's going on? My wife is none too happy. Spags is looking at me laughing, going, you just left? I go, that's what I do. I go, that's what I do. I don't know what to tell you. So we had a laugh. We always laughed about it. I hadn't seen him in 100 years. And I'm one of those guys that's now claiming a friendship. All right. But I always liked Spags. I used to go over to football offices and hang out with the football coaches. Used to go to lunch with the football coaches. I just like football coaches. I do. But congratulations, Spags. Like, when you think about the Kansas City Chiefs, you think about what? Patrick Mahomes. You got to. Now you think about Travis Kelce, who's a bad, bad man. I love that Panchero, whatever the hell his name is. After an entire season of watching freaking Jonathan Taylor run out of bounds, I got to see a guy go for extra yards, Walter Payton style. But did you know how good the defense was of the Kansas City Chiefs? Did you know how good Spagnuolo and that team is? I did not. I did not. And I'm going to be saying this all offseason. Toughness wins in the NFL. Toughness dominates in the NFL. The 4 best teams were all built on toughness. It's kind of fascinating. All right, let's go back to Dan Campbell. A lot of you might be upset. Well, you know, this is how we got there. It is? Okay, this is how we got there. How did we get there? We got there by going for it on 4th down. No. That was a part of how you got there. But when you're up 14, and there was a bunch of plays, don't get me wrong, there was a ton of plays. The ball off of the face mask of the defender goes into Ayuk's hands, Lynn Swann style. Back in the day, a lot of you younger guys, you can go look it up. Lynn Swann doing that in the Super Bowl, tip ball, unbelievable stuff. But the fact of the matter is, you got a chance to go up 3 scores with 1/4 of the second half eliminated. 7.5 minutes to go in the freaking game. I just lied. 7.5 minutes to go in the 3rd quarter. And if you make a 90% chance field goal, then you have kept the score at 17. The same score it was when you started the half, and you've cut off a quarter of the game. Because there's only 30 minutes left in the game when you go in at halftime. You've cut off 7.5, which is a quarter. Now you kick off, the ball goes through the goalpost, everybody runs down the field, everybody's excited, ball gets put at the 25, and there's no momentum. You and I both know, you sitting wherever you sat, me sitting on my DuPayash in Indianapolis, as soon as that kid Reynolds did what apparently that kid Reynolds does, which is drop the football, you felt it in your place of watching. The momentum of the entire building, the entire city, the entire West Coast, the entire nation watching shifted. It switched. You could feel it in your bones. And now, by the time, think about this, it got to 3 minutes to go in the third quarter, period, whatever you call it, it was a tie game. Touchdown, fumble, touchdown. Unbelievable. And it didn't matter whether it was a fluke, whatever. But the momentum had switched. It switched bigly. If you just kick the field goal, that's all. You're up 3 scores, you've cut a quarter of the game off, and boom, there's no momentum. Unless you kick off badly, next thing you know, they run it back. I said this earlier, if you're just joining us, Bear Bryant. What do you do game day, Bear Bryant? I think of ways for us not to lose. Dan Campbell. I'll tell you this. Dan Campbell tried to screw it up at the end. You're down 10. It's 4th and freaking 2 to goal. 2 yards for a touchdown. You kick the field goal there. You got to onside it anyway. Look, I understand, but if you don't make it, the game's over. They made it. Good for them. But that was a stupid decision. That was dumb. That was really dumb. Because regardless, you got an onside kick. Now, I understand it's harder if you onside kick and you get it. It's harder if you're going to go in and score a touchdown than it is to kick a field goal.